welcome back to another episode of Movie Bracket Challenge. Okay, we're going to cover Bug's Life. I love this movie when I was a kid, so I'm super excited to cover this. We start with the movie with all the ants gathering all the food up. They are collecting it, and the grasshoppers will be coming to get it. We meet Flick, who is this great inventor, and we get to see the telescope. And then the grasshoppers start to arrive. When the grasshoppers arrive, Flick accidentally kicks over the food into water, ruining the food. Now Hopper, the lead grasshopper, says that the grasshoppers will be back before the last leaf drops, and they expect double the food.
What do you have to say for yourself?
Sorry, I'm sorry for the way I am. I didn't mean for things to go so wrong. I especially didn't want to make you look bad, Princess.
Well, Flick, you did.
I was just trying to help.
Then help us. Don't help us.
Help?
Flick, you're sentenced to 1 month digging in the tunnel.
Excuse me, Your Highness. Need I remind you of Flick's tunnel within a tunnel project?
Helpers to help us.
It took the whole
That's it.
engineering department 2 days to dig them out. Send them to Health and Ant Services.
Heavens, no!
We could leave the island. The riverbed's dry right now. We could just walk right across the riverbed. We could go get helpers. We could leave. Sure, we could go find helpers to help us. It's perfect!
Perfect? What's so perfect?
Your Highness, don't you see? We could send someone to get help.
Leave the island?
Now, why didn't I think of that? Oh, because it's suicide!
She's right. We never leave the island.
Never leave.
There's snakes and birds and bigger bugs out there.
Exactly! Bigger bugs! We could find bigger bugs to come here and fight and forever rid us of Hopper and his gang.
Ludicrous!
Who would do a crazy thing like that?
I'll volunteer. I'd be very happy to volunteer.
You got a lot of spunk, kid, but no one's gonna help a bunch of ants.
At least we could try. Oh, I could travel to the city. I could search there.
If you went, you'd be on that silly search for weeks.
Royal Huddle. Great idea, Princess. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. What did we just decide here?
To let Flick leave.
While we keep harvesting to meet Hopper's demands.
You see, with Flick gone, he can't mess anything up.
Flick, after much deliberation, we have decided to grant you your request.
Really?
Really?
Really.
Oh, thank you, Princess. Thank you so much for this chance. I won't let you down.
That's
I promise.
fine.
I promise.
It's
I
fine.
promise.
No,
I promise.
forget it.
I should probably help repair some of the damage before I go, don't you think?
No,
Just leave!
So then we see Flick in the big city. He finds the warriors, or does he? Flick actually finds circus bugs, and they think that Flick is a scout. So they're excited to go with Flick, not understanding that Flick thinks they are warriors, and Flick does not understand that they are actually circus things. So they go back to Flick's home. Flick is excited. They are excited. They get there, and then they figure out the mistake. So they're back there. They have this problem, and the bugs all decide they're going to leave before the grasshoppers get back. On their way to leaving, they are attacked by birds. And unfortunately, the ladybug, Francis, who is one of my favorite characters, gets hurt. So they can't leave now. So Flick, the inventor, decides or comes up with the plan to make a fake bird to fight the grasshoppers, or at least scare the grasshoppers. So when the bird is complete, they all celebrate and are excited, and they're excited to stay. They like where they're living. However, in the celebration, they figure out that the bugs that Flick has brought back with him from the city are not real warriors. Now, this is disappointing and upsetting. They decide to push the warriors out, or circus bugs out, and Flick. They don't trust Flick anymore. And so when the grasshoppers come back at this point, there isn't enough food. And they take the queen hostage. When they take the queen hostage, Princess Dot and the kids are hiding. They hear that they're going to kill the queen. That is the plan. So Princess Dot goes to find Flick to get some help to save the queen. They operate the bird that Flick has invented to try and save the queen. While they're doing so, though, one of the ants that did not know about the plan sets the bird on fire. So then that plan is up in smoke, literally. And so the grasshoppers get mad. Flick tries to stand up to them. They start beating Flick. But at this point, the ants learn to fight back. And they fight the grasshoppers. And they scare the grasshoppers off because they stood up to the bullies. And then so the grasshoppers finally leave. And no longer do the ants have to collect the grasshoppers' food for them. And what did you think of this movie? And is it your vote? Let me know. Because Bugs Life is one of my favorite movies, and I'm so excited that it's made the list. So, can't wait to find out who you're voting for. Okay, we're going to talk about Soul. I love that Disney Plus released this during the time that can't be mentioned on YouTube. It really made a big difference because you couldn't leave your house and everything. So this was a fantastic movie that came out. I really love this movie and all the lessons in it. So let's get into it. The movie starts with Joe Gardner. Joe Gardner is a music teacher that we see. He loves jazz. He definitely inspires his students. And it's really fun to see one of the students just burst out, go into her music really deep. And you could see Joe like light up as he's watching his student just go into it. And then when the other students kind of try and tease that student, Joe takes it on. He's like, no, that's what I want. That's what you should do. Get lost in your spark, your muse and your music. And he gets lost in his music right in front of the students, and it's an awesome experience to watch him. So we learned that Joe is a part-time teacher, but he gets offered a full-time position, which he's not real excited about. I'm kind of curious why. So then we see him talking to his mother, who's really excited that Joe gets this opportunity, that he can make a living out of his love, music. Joe is not excited because this is not what Joe dreamed of. Joe dreamed of the clubs and playing in front of audiences. And then he gets the opportunity. He books this incredible gig. He is floating, he's excited, and all these accidents seem to be happening around him. And he's not noticing because he's so excited. And then all of a sudden, Joe falls down a hole in the middle of the road. And then we see Joe as a soul. So we come and see Joe on this almost like escalator type thing of all these souls. He runs up to another one and goes, where are we? And they're like, oh, are you new, honey? And they try and comfort Joe and, let him know that he's now deceased. But Joel does not accept this, and he fights. He fights to keep his life. And that's inspiring. He's so excited about what he has that night, the big gig, that he's fighting to get back to it. We see Joe fight his way off the escalator, and he falls again. He falls a lot in this movie. And he falls, and then he gets to this plane where there's all these new souls. And he meets Jared, who thinks that he is one of the souls that's here to inspire the new souls. One of the souls that's already lived their life, which he is, but he's not here to inspire. Joel then takes him on this very cool ride where he gets to see all these neat things the new souls are going to experience. And he goes into this auditorium because they think he is one of the advisors for the new souls. Then he gets matched with 22. 22 is a soul that's been there for a long time and has no interest in going to Earth. And Joe's job is to inspire her too. But really, Joe has a plan to steal her patch and make it back to Earth and go to his gig. So he ends up fessing up to 22 what his plan is, and 22 would love to give the patch, but she says, until it lights up, no matter what she does or he does, because we don't know what 22 is, the patch comes right back. But 22 is in for it. 22 does not want to go to Earth and just wants to be on the plane, or what they call it is the Great Before, or they also nicknamed it Awesomer. I could not say that word for the life of me in the movie, but it's really cool, and I love that they are in it together now. They're gonna find 22 sparks, and then when the patch lights up, 22 is gonna hand it to Joe. That's their plan anyway. We get into the movie, and Gerald kind of finds them again, and Gerald's like, well, time's up. And 22 goes, no, Gerald, I'm really trying to find my spark this time. And Gerald is so happy that 22 is interested in this that she lets them keep going. But as soon as Gerald leaves, 22 goes, let's go, Joe. And she takes Joe into this like grassy desert area, or it's where lost souls are, or where you are when you're in your zone. It's a place between Earth and where the new souls are. So they meet this very unique character who says he's going to help Joe get back to the body. So they go on a ship, they go to what's called a thin line, and then this very unique character tries to get Joe, the moon, tries to get Joe to concentrate on where his body is, and Joe finally sees his body, and then he falls down a hole. But this time he pushes 22 with him. And 22 ends up landing in his body, and Joe ends up landing in the cat. This sets up really the main part of the movie, or what was my favorite part, is watching them go through all the adventures, trying to get Joe to his gig, but back in his body. And at the same time, 22 is trying to find her spark because she's kind of interested in life now. She wants to know what the deal is. And they really go through a bunch of adventures because at this point, the accountant has figured out that Joe is missing from the escalator. So the accountant is after them. And once again, it's a great movie that way. I don't want to give out the ending, but I'm going to. So spoiler alert. Joe in the end learns this really cool lesson about he wants to get back to Earth, but that means 22 does not get to have a life. And he learns to sacrifice his life to give 22 a chance at life. And because of this, they both get a life. Joe ends up going back to his body, and you'll be very surprised what he does end up doing. And 22 gets to be born and start a life. And it's really cool. I don't want to give out exactly where Joe ends up at the gig or as a teacher. That's for you to find out. But I do want you to know which movie you're voting for. Is Soul your movie? Let me know. Don't forget to vote, comment section, and our community page.